Our perception of money is changing rapidly, and banks are at the center of all of it. From how we access it, to how we buy, to how we trust that that money will be there when we need it. I'm Kiah Haslett, the creator of FinTech Takes Banking. Here on Bank Nerd Corner, I talk with bankers, economists, academics, and more about the complex dynamics shaping the financial services landscape. In this month's Bank Nerd Corner Squared, Alex and I chat ahead of the FinTech Takes Builder Summit about the temperature and dress code, and a board game I hope we play before moving on to discuss a couple of recent items in the news. First up is Alex's confusion around the proposed skinny master account from Fed Governor Christopher Waller. We then move on to the sad and strange tale of the 2023 failure of Heartland Tri-State Bank and whether there are any laws in the United States that need to be followed anymore. Finally, I bring Alex a story that combines two of my favorite things, banking and a travel card. Only this time, it's not a credit card. Banks worldwide use Tactile's AI decision platform to power their credit, fraud, and compliance workflows and adapt them in weeks, not months. Built for banking, Tactile's platform is transparent, audit-ready, and made to test and optimize decisions continuously. Learn more at tactile.com. Alex Johnson, I have a bone to pick with you.
Really? What's the problem, Kiah Haslett?
Yes. So I will be at the FinTech Takes Builder Summit, which when we are recording will be next week.
Yes.
And I like to pack a week in advance. And if I think this is the only correct way to ever pack for a trip. And if you do it in less time, you're wrong.
We can get into that later. Okay.
And so I pulled out some outfits that I thought would be appropriate for the conference, including some nice chambray shirts and black pants and some shoes. And then the next day, I got an email that was sent to all attendees that described what clothes I should be bringing to this conference. Yes. And I was stunned to see that it's going to be that I need to dress for 30-degree weather. And I would like to lodge this complaint directly with you and ask you what the hell.
Okay, fair. I will say a couple of things in response to that. 30 degrees is not cold. 30 degrees is like crisp. It's not cold. 30 degrees is not cold. In fact, it is unseasonably warm compared to Montana when I was growing up here at this time of year. So we are getting like basically beach weather in the mountains next week. Not cold at all. And I assume everyone constantly dresses in layers all the time and has adequate sort of clothes and room in their suitcases to allow for that. You don't think about clothing in terms of 9 different layers at a time?
I don't plan my conference outfits so that I can wear long underwear under them or a puffer vest. I'm not a puffer vest conference attendee person. Although we were at Money 2020, I'm sure many people were wearing the puffers and the fleeces, even indoors in Vegas.
What you're saying is you're not a venture capital investor, basically.
Right, because I'm not a venture capitalist, capital investor. I don't dress like for this. So I have to go back to the drawing board and figure out these outfits.
Well, I mean, Kiah, you're just making me happier and happier that we did it in Montana and that we convinced you to leave the wonderful, beautiful, ridiculously warm all year round weather in Nashville, Tennessee.
Correct.
To come to like a real place where we have actual seasons. It's now post Halloween. We're headed into Thanksgiving. Like, this is what actual weather this time of year is supposed to be.
I did my time in the Midwest in Nebraska, and I can tell you there's nothing to be gained from being cold. You are not a better person because you live in the cold.
Disagree. Firmly disagree. Well, no, and it's the thing that's going to be wonderful, just to give a little quick promo for our Builder Summit, which I think you and I are both excited about despite your kvetching with the weather. I think that the fact that we are going to be in the mountains outside of cell phone range.
Oh, no.
With nice, like, cold, crisp weather, mountains and the scenery and wildlife and all kinds of fun stuff. Like, this is the perfect place to, like, think deep thoughts about the future of the financial services industry. Do you not agree?
I think it sounds like the premise of a horror movie.
All right. Okay. Fair. I clearly am not going to convince you that this is the right venue for it. I will say this. We will eventually, I'm sure, be having a FinTech Takes banking summit of some kind. And if you want to take us to Nashville or Mexico City or San Diego or Miami, it's entirely your prerogative to do that, Kiah. And I will go wherever you decide that future event needs to take place.
Well, and the other thing too is I'm manifesting that we play. We have some time while we're in Montana to play a game.
Yes.
And just a brief aside, I sent you this game recently because while we were in DC, I can't remember how this got brought up, but you said that you wanted to play a game that is Risk, but banking or something.
Yes. Yeah.
And
like bank M&A Risk game. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I looked at you and said, this game exists, and I have played it. And I pulled out my version. I'm going to make some noise for our audio producer. I'm holding the board game.
Nice.
What does it say?
It says Acquire.
It's Acquire. So this is briefly this is part of my origin story about why I'm a bank reporter, is that my dad had the 1970s 3M version of this game. Yep. And I played it probably like too young, which is like, there's nothing bad in the game, but it's a strategy game. And maybe third graders don't need to be playing games where you become a real estate magnate and you take over the board with your hotels through M&A and through stock transactions.
Oh,
and I think this is, honestly, we can ignore that it's hotels and just pretend that they're banks. Like all the names of the companies are banks.
I like it.
And I sent it to you, and I'm hoping that we have time to play it. But if not, Christmas is coming up, and if listeners need an extremely nerdy idea to get someone for Christmas, that's a really great gift.
We will drop the link to it in the show notes, I'm sure. I think it is a great idea for a gift. I'm very excited to have received this gift. I will bring it to the event with me. I'm sure we will find some time to play it. And quite frankly, as someone who grew up playing Monopoly with my dad when I was also way too young, and most of my memories are just me getting wiped out by my dad over and over and over again, as if he was like some sort of like superior being that just could never be beaten. That shaped a lot of my psyche. I don't know that that's why I started FinTech Takes, but probably factored into it at some point. And I'm very excited to play this game.
Also, I have like really high explainer energy. And so when I teach people this game, I always end up giving away the strategy, which like when you were like 12 made the game more enjoyable. But when you are an adult means you lose this game to people who you have just spoken, taught them how to play it. So I'm going to do my best to make y'all figure it out.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like there will at least be some folks at the event who have a chance of beating you. I'm not going to say that I'm that person because while I love board games, I don't always tend to win them. So very excited about that. And Kiah, as always, very excited to talk about banking things.
Yeah. So my first topic is something that was kind of dominant and overhanging at Money 2020. But it's really, if you boil it down, is two speeches that one Fed governor gave.
Yes.
And so my first question for you, Alex, is can you tell me about this skinny master account?
Oh, I can tell you about it, Kiah. And, fasten your seatbelt because it's quite a ride. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So going back to your point about this happening right around the same time as Money 2020, on October 1st, Fed Governor Waller, the sort of wild card of the Fed governors, if I may be so bold as to say, gave a speech in which he said this, and I'm just going to read this quote because I think it illustrates kind of the type of thinking that seems dominant at the Fed right now. This payment account, this new skinny charter, this new, not skinny charter, like skinny master account access, this new payment account that we would create at the Fed. The quote says, this payment account concept would be targeted to provide basic Federal Reserve payment services to legally eligible institutions that right now conduct payment services primarily through a third-party bank that has a full-fledged master account. There are many eligible firms engaged in substantial payments activities that may not want or need all the bells and whistles of a master account or access to the full suite of Federal Reserve financial services to successfully innovate and provide services to their customers. The idea is to tailor the services of these new accounts to the needs of these firms and the risks they present to the Federal Reserve banks and the payment system. Accordingly, and importantly, these lower risk payment accounts would have a streamlined timeline for review. Payments innovation moves fast, and the Federal Reserve needs to keep up. All right, that
sounds good.
It sounds nice, right?
Yeah,
so,
very
it's
exciting.
really addressing the concern that the payment system and the payment infrastructure we have has not kept up with all the innovation that we've seen. Clearly, with the lower risk, these would be a streamlined timeline for review.
Right.
It's sort of poking at the concerns that Custodia and a number of other banks and other providers have had about trying to get access to FedMaster accounts and being slow rolled through that process. So clearly, Governor Waller is trying to sort of project forward this vision of like, here's what we could do differently. And this is what's being called a skinny FedMaster account, or as he described, these payment accounts that are specifically just for payments. All right.
Yeah.
So you might reasonably assume, and many people did, that these comments mean that eligible firms, remember, legally eligible firms that were described in that quote, might include kind of the broad universe of all of those innovative payment companies that haven't gotten access to FedMaster accounts and have to instead go through third-party correspondent banking relationships. These could be non-bank payment service companies. These could be non-depository banks, but sort of broadening the universe of companies that could get access to FedMaster accounts. Do you think that's a reasonable assumption, Kiah?
That is exactly what I thought of when you read that quote. There's almost nothing else that I thought of, actually.
Yes. And it makes sense, right? Because again, the poll quote at the end was payments innovation moves fast and the Federal Reserve needs to keep up. Okay, great. So you want to keep up. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks and Governor Waller has been out doing a little bit of clarifying. He recently said at a different event, there's a misunderstanding out there that somehow just a fintech can show up and say, hey, I'd like a skinny master account. You have to have a bank charter to do this. So if you're not a bank and you don't have a bank charter, then you don't have the right to ask for one at all.
What?
Yeah. So apparently everything we thought about these skinny FedMaster accounts, not so much.
That's crazy. He should have included the bank charter stuff in the first speech, right?
Right. Just saying like eligible institutions versus like, no, you have to have a bank charter. Like those are two different sounding things. So I dug into this because I wanted to know, like, okay, was I the only one who was getting confused? Like, clearly not if he had to go out and like clarify these comments. So it turns out, I think what he's actually saying is that he wants to make it easier and faster for, let's call it maybe a few dozen banks out there right now that are already legally eligible under the Federal Reserve Act for FedMaster accounts. So think about companies like that special crypto depository charter that Wyoming has. Think about state chartered ILCs. Think about foreign bank branches. Those are the types of depository institutions. And this is the key term to qualify for a Fed account. You have to be either a depository institution or you have to be eligible for FDIC insurance. But who don't already have a FedMaster account for reasons. That I think is really interesting because essentially the proposal that he has, this skinny master account, it would strip away a lot of the other stuff that you typically get when you're a member of the Federal Reserve, right? So things like daylight overdrafts for interbank balances held or intraday balances held at the Federal Reserve, interest on those reserve balances, access to the discount window, our favorite thing that never gets used, all that kind of stuff. Normally you get if you are a member of the Federal Reserve System. In the case of this skinny charter or the skinny FedMaster account, you wouldn't get that, which in theory, again, would make it easy for the very small number of depository institutions who today struggle to get FedMaster accounts for payments. So, Kiah, I have some questions. I don't really have any answers. I just have questions for you. All right, you ready?
Yes.
All right. Question number 1. Will this very narrow improvement have any meaningful impact on payments innovation in the US? Was Custodia not having a master account the thing holding back payments innovation in this country?
Honestly, when he was talking about many eligible firms engaged in substantial payment activities, this list was not what I envisioned. And also,
no,
I don't know if giving skinny master account or payment accounts, whatever we're calling this, to the listed IDI or DIs that don't have accounts is solving for innovation.
It's maybe 24. It's not that many, right? It's state ILCs, most of which are more lending oriented than payment oriented anyway, right? So it's those. It's folks like Custodia who do have these sort of unique, novel state chartered depository institutions that are tied to crypto and are maybe seen by the Fed as being a little bit more risky. But that brings me to my second question, which is this doesn't even guarantee master accounts for those institutions that would fall under this narrow slice of new institutions that are covered by a skinny master account. Custodia just lost in the 10th Circuit because the Federal Reserve, the court decided, has sole discretion to deny access even to eligible institutions. And again, that goes all the way back to the Federal Reserve Act. This is something the Fed has the direct authority to oversee. So even in the scenario where these skinny master accounts exist, if whoever is in charge of this decision at the Fed decides, even though technically you're eligible, which again, Custodia is right now, we just don't like you. We're not going to let you have this. We have concerns about your business model. That problem doesn't go away because of this. So again, that feels like a challenge.
Well, and you remember when we spoke with Julie about why the Fed doesn't want certain companies to get master accounts, and she was talking about money laundering, I guess. And so and this is not to say this is about Custodia, but that rationale still applies to the skinny master account, correct?
It absolutely does.
I think it's probably fine to divorce the idea of payment rail access from master account stuff.
Totally.
I think those you can think of those as two separate products, but the concern with the rails still exists whether or not there's you have the master account.
It absolutely does, right? I mean, for folks who haven't listened to that episode we did with Julie Hill, I mean, you go back and listen to it. Back when this originally became an issue, it was cannabis, right, that was causing the initial concern. And the Federal Reserve's position on it, which is not totally unreasonable, is, look, this is illegal at a federal level. We can't authorize money laundering over our payment network, right? We can't do that. That doesn't go away. That doesn't change in this scenario.
None of that's been addressed.
None of that's been addressed. And the thing is, you could argue, okay, well, are the folks who are in charge of this decision at the Fed right now going to be more friendly to, the custodians of the world or, cannabis banks that work at a state level? Maybe not. Who knows? But again, we're going to see, that swing wildly back and forth, I would imagine, administration to administration. So just because you're introducing this possibly new version of a Fed master account doesn't mean that discretion is going to be used in a different way, administration to administration. So I don't really understand that. And then the other part of this that I just want to tie back to, because I know you've written about this, is your old friend's National Trust Bank charters, right?
My favorite.
Your
Everyone's favorite charter.
Wrote a two-part newsletter about these national trust banks and why they're suddenly popular again. Just so you know, as a general rule, national trust banks do not engage in the business of taking deposits.
That's
they
correct.
are not eligible for FDIC insurance. And therefore, even though there are a bunch of crypto and stablecoin companies applying for these national trust bank charters, having that charter would not qualify them under Waller's definition for these skinny master accounts. So what are we doing? I thought the whole point, Kiah, of these national trust bank charters was to be able to get a master account. What are we doing?
Yeah. Also, no one has like fully explained this logic, and I genuinely chalk it up to like the Fed was not always making consistent decisions around master account access over the course of the decades that it's been receiving these applications. Because when I wrote my two-part piece, which you can go read, one of the things I did was I pulled up the OCC's list of institutions that have a national trust charter. And then I got rid, from my analysis, of ones that appeared to be from banks, because banks have these charters, or they have subsidiaries that have these charters.
Subsidiaries, yeah.
And then I looked at the non-bank charter holders and looked at them in the database of who has a master account. And on that, it'll say like whether it's like it can take insured deposits. And so there are national trust charter holders who do not have banks, cannot take insured deposits, and yet have a Federal Reserve master account. And those companies are ADP, BlackRock, Brown Brothers, Chilton, and Raymond James Trust. And then Anchorage, Fund Bank, and Paycom do not have FDIC insurance and have pending accounts or master account applications. And then some national trust charters don't have a master account and haven't applied. So there's not like a ton of consistency. And I honestly, like, what I wanted is like see when this master account access was granted, because that might help me explain the decisioning around the granting of the access more than anything else, as far as I can tell.
No, exactly. And this brings me to my final little like rant about this, which I would just like to like lay out there, right?
Yeah,
we are living in a time when it is actually possible to, if you have like a crypto company and your company donates to crypto trade associations and lobbyists and funds those organizations, and you donate money to politicians and political campaigns, like you have the ability to pass laws right now. I wish we were passing other laws and maybe not doing that, but like, you know, hey, we can pass new laws that change the rules in the financial services industry. We just saw this with the Genius Act. They're working on market structure legislation, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, maybe one thing we could revisit is the Federal Reserve Act, a very, very old law that I think most recently was updated by the Monetary Control Act in 1980. Like, we have at various times in our history modified the rules around who is eligible for access to the Federal Reserve System, and B, how much discretion or not we want to grant the Federal Reserve in making those determinations. I think it would make a lot of sense for the crypto lobby to apply a little bit of its lobbying muscle and say, you know what, we would like to update the Federal Reserve Act again to completely segment off from the rest of the privileges and restrictions and benefits of being a member of the Federal Reserve System, just the payment infrastructure that should be completely unbiased. It should just be treated as a utility. It should just be a low-cost way to facilitate payments innovation and commerce in this country. And we should just have an unbiased and completely neutral process for granting anyone who wants access to that set of rails, that without having to go through a correspondent banking relationship. That feels like such an easier solution to the problem than Governor Waller coming out and proposing this new version of a master account, which the more he clarifies it, the more it doesn't sound like it's for anybody at all. Yeah, I don't understand.
This is just, I wrote, is this a national money transmitter license dressed in a trench coat? And it kind of is.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like kind of bold of him to suggest and dance around it. And it is so funny to me that he, like, what I imagine happened is like he got in big trouble at the Fed, or like, I don't know, someone was like, if you do that, we will sue you so fast. And
he clearly kind of went out on a bit of a limb and then had to sort of clean things up. But I hadn't even realized as I was putting the notes together for this that like the Fed has like an insane amount of discretion in this area. I mean, like the fact that there are national trust charter holders that are not FDIC insured, do not take deposits, but do have Fed master accounts. that undermines the entire principle of what we were just talking about.
It's crazy. Like,
That's
it's
crazy.
funny because the Fed is like acting like, oh, well, now we get to decide. But like, you're like, you have just no consistency, right? Like,
well, they use the term legally eligible. He's like, yeah, only the ones that are legally eligible. Well, what decides that? You decide it. Like, explain that to me. I don't understand. And I have gotten into numerous debates with people where I'm like, hey, can you explain like why they're doing this or why these institutions are getting this charter type? And no one can give me a clear explanation. Even like with the National Trust Bank charters, I thought another benefit of those was that you could custody your own assets, like if you issue a stable coin. And yet a lot of the ones who have that or are maybe going to get it aren't actually going to custody their own assets, even though legally they would technically be able to by having a National Trust Bank charter. There's so much ambiguity and like lack of clarity. And again, if our goal is to just accelerate innovation, like innovation thrives when there's certainty and clear rules, not whatever this is.
I just think it's so funny that we keep coming back to like talking about master accounts. And
I don't want to.
You've gone like the full continuum of like, this was fun to talk about. This is fun. I'm so sick. I never want to talk about this again.
Like don't make me say Monetary Control Act again. I don't want to.
Well, yeah, sorry. I guess we're not getting a national money transmitter license. What I think is so funny is this. You said it was October 1. The speech happened October 21.
Oh, right.
So it's even less time has passed than you initially said. And I thank God I didn't devote an entire newsletter to writing this. Thank God you didn't. You know what I mean?
God,
like,
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
You would have just written something, and then like a week later, he has to walk it back.
Yeah, he'd been like, "Oh, just kidding," you know. Like, I that's a good note. Like, I think you and I should just be very careful about basically writing anything that's like, "Oh, the Fed said this," because I just don't think like the Fed has way too much discretion, and it just means that like what the Fed says they're going to do, or even like what we think institutions are trying to position themselves to be able to do in response to what they think the Fed will allow.
Yeah.
It's all just interpretation. It's all just like guesswork, right? You go to our friends at like Claros and you say like, hey, I want to do this. What do you think the best path is to get there? And they sort of read the tea leaves and they figure out like National Trust Bank Charter, that's what you should use. And you're like, why? And they're like, well, just trust us. Like there's no clarity at all. It's insane.
I mean, yeah, it's funny because I think that there's so much like innovation right now.
Yeah.
And it's like really mucking up the waters, and
it really
it's
is.
kind of running into things that the question is like, is this fixed? Is it like fungible? Can we manipulate it? What's possible?
Well, and the other thing that's interesting to that point is, and I think this is the other thing I'm struggling with regulators right now, is it feels a little bit like the way that teenagers talk to their friends versus talk to their parents, if that makes sense. Where it's like, if you're at a certain venue as a Fed governor or sort of a regulator who's kind of maybe in a more like politically exposed sort of position, like one that needs to kind of signal to this administration that you're like on board with whatever's happening.
Sure.
Like, you're going to talk to your peers as if like, oh, you know, we have to update this. Like the payment system needs to be able to keep up with innovation. Like, well, what if we did like a skinny master account? Wouldn't that be cool? Is it a national payments charter? No, it's like a totally different thing. So you like talk about it in this like language that's almost sort of shoot from the hip. Like, look how cool and fun we are. And then to your point, like a week later, clearly like this person went to a different set of meetings or a different conference or whatever. And the people at that one were like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, no, now I'm talking to my parents. And when I talk to my parents, what I actually mean is blah, blah, blah. It's really weird to watch regulators use two different sets of language and almost like two different philosophies for how to approach some of these ambiguous questions and then kind of vacillate between them. Like, I don't have a dog in this hunt. I'm just trying to like figure out what's actually true.
In journalism, we call it like trial balloons. Like,
right.
But what happens is, you know, in politics, someone will say, an anonymous source will say something and they'll float the balloon out and then they'll see what the reaction to everything is. And then they can like proceed using that information. Or like in Wall Street, you know, we call it like buy on the rumor, sell on the news, right? So stocks move in advance of news being announced. It's just really funny to see a Fed governor do it.
You don't normally see this on the record from
in a
regulators.
Speech.
It's that's the part that's weird. So I'm a little confused by that. But Kiah, I will happily, or I guess I should say unhappily, be your master account correspondent. If any weird stuff happens in the future, just save it for Bank Nerd Corner, and I'll be back to update you on it.
In banking, conditions change fast. Credit teams need to adapt without sacrificing credit quality, compliance, or control. That's why banks choose Tactile's AI decision platform. It gives teams the power to design, test, and refine credit, fraud, and compliance workflows using AI quickly and securely. With seamless data integrations and built-in testing, every decision flow can be optimized in real time. With Tactile, AI isn't a black box. It's transparent, explainable, and regulator ready, so banks are always prepared for what's next. For more information, visit tactile.com. Okay, can I tell you about a bank failure from 2023?
Of course, this is
the one that you're thinking
Kiah.
of. Yeah,
this is your thing. So you tell me.
Okay. So in July 2023, the FDIC takes receivership of Heartland Tri-State Bank, which is located in Elkhart, Kansas. I have not been there.
Okay.
When it fails at the end of the first quarter, it has approximately $140 million in assets and $140 million in deposits. And the bank failure is a little weird. And the way we know it's weird is that, it wasn't clear what the loss to the insurance fund was going to be at the time. Oh, no, sorry. At the time, it says $54 million. So $54 million loss to the insurance fund on $140 million is pretty high. Yeah. But the acquirer, Dream First Bank, takes all of the bank's assets, which is pretty good. It means that that they feel pretty confident in the asset quality. But this loss is really high. And what comes out later is that the CEO, I think his name is Sean, it's S-H-A-N, Sean or Shane Haynes, has fallen prey to a crypto scam and was pig butchered. Yeah. And so and then in some of the reporting that was in Bank Director magazine, what happens is and then it came out in a material loss review and an OIG report so he falls prey to this crypto scam. He gives away a lot of his own money and his daughter's college fund. And he asks someone at a bank customer if he'll loan Shane the money and so he can send it, and the bank customer's no, and he kind of reports it to the board. But what actually fails the bank, you're Kiah, okay, why does this fail? So what fails the bank is that in a 30-day period, he uses the bank's home loan credit line, Federal Home Loan Bank credit line, and wires money to the crypto scammers. And what happens is that the CFO has to sign off on these transactions, and these transactions violate their internal policy, and he still kind of does it in part because this is your boss asking you to do something, and your boss is giving you a weird reason, but you don't really feel comfortable. And the 10th transaction, the CFO does it and then calls the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City, I think, maybe.
Oh, sure.
And is hey, I think there's a scam.
Yeah.
And so basically what the regulators do is they realize he has wired out all the bank's capital. And so that's why they close the bank. They close the bank really fast, and that's why the DIF loss is $54 million. Okay, so that's crazy background, right?
So I'm sorry, and just to be clear, we have assets that we have deposits which are fine.
Yep.
But we have this whole because all of our capital has been sent to a scammer by our CEO who was okay. Got it.
Yeah. And so he goes on trial and he is sentenced. I actually this is a real big aside, but I feel kind of bad because he's clearly a victim and he got a lot of time.
Didn't he get 24 years?
Yeah, he got a lot of time.
That's insane.
And one thing that's really, really sad is that you can in the article that I read about this, it took him. It's not clear when he became deprogrammed. One of the things about these scams is people who are scammed really believe they're true. And I think when the regulators went in to go fail the bank, they noted that they were having a really, really hard time getting answers from him because he believed the scam so much. And it was really, really sad. Okay, so anyways, he's gonna go to prison.
Sure.
So what happens here is the FBI finds $8 million in a crypto wallet. Now, another aside is that it was in Tether, which is a stable coin.
Yes.
And I'm really excited. Someone has a really good use for stable coins because I keep looking for a good use case. And it seems like this is a really, really good use case for a stable coin. Anyways.
So the money being stolen, sitting in a nice stable asset that doesn't change its value at all and can be recovered later, I suppose.
Sure. Or it could be transferred out of the country, which is where the other millions had gone.
Right. Because they only recovered 8 million.
They only recovered 8 million.
What, 50 million roughly that was stolen? Yeah.
I mean, 50 million from the bank. This guy stole other people's money.
Right.
Yeah. He just gets stopped when he takes the bank's money. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So the FBI finds this $8 million.
Okay.
And so there's a trial to see who gets the $8 million because there are victims in this. And one of the things that's really interesting about bank failures is that the FDIC takes a loss and under banking law is seen as a victim. It does not represent the agency when it takes receivership. It becomes the victim of this bank and is not the government. And yet, in this case, the FDIC recognized that there were equity holders in the bank who also lost money. And namely, there was a group of 36 individuals, and their equity in the bank goes to zero when it fails.
So these were the owners of the holding company.
Yeah. And they had stock in the bank. And it was a little community bank. The stock is very illiquid.
And these people are people living in Kansas, like normal people, not private equity firm.
Right. But they could, you have to imagine it's a Robin Hood thing. But the FDIC acknowledges this group of shareholders as victims and proposes an 85-15 split. And what happens, and the reason why we're talking about this, is because the judge in Kansas ruled that the equity holders should get damages first and have their loss claim be senior to the FDIC. And the FDIC would get whatever's left of this $8 million after the shareholders have received the restitution. And Alex, my question is do we have to follow any laws in the United States anymore?
This is I love this little example because obviously small bank in Kansas, there were other things happening in 2023 that sort of took up more of the airwaves, as we know. But I love this because I think it does sort of flip a lot of these things on its head, right? Normally, and I'm just going to describe my view of this, and then you tell me where I'm wrong. Normally, from a bank failure perspective, when we think about let's use the word victim since you used that before. When we normally think about a bank failing, we sort of prioritize the victims based on, I would almost say their systemic importance to the banking system. And so like equity holders get wiped out, right? Like if you invest in a bank and
That's
the bank
the whole
fails,
thing about equity.
that's the whole thing, right? Like equity goes to zero first. So you get wiped
gets zeroed out.
And by the way, do you happen to know if the FHLB got repaid? Because in my experience, the FHLB always gets repaid.
The FHLB always gets repaid because it's secured.
Right, secured with collateral. So
so they just get their collateral. Yes.
They just get their collateral back. So FHLB is always fine. But then FDIC, the principle is that you want to try to have the FDIC be able to, minimize the impact to the insurance fund, right? And obviously there was going to be a loss either way, but this $8 million could go towards that loss. What's fascinating to me about this, and this I guess is my question for you, Kiah, is this bank didn't fail because it had bad loans.
Correct.
This bank didn't fail because of some sort of ordinary banking failure reason. This bank failed because it was led by a person who got tricked into a crypto pig butchering scam.
Mm-hmm.
That is like a crime that is separate from a bank failure, which is why, as I understand it from the legal side of this case, the judge considered this to be something that fell under, I can't remember the name of the law, but there's basically a law that sort of governs how victims of crimes are reimbursed if there's money to reimburse them. And that has a very different hierarchy of who victims are and who they aren't. And so in this particular case, the judge looked at it through that prism and said,
right.
The FDIC is, I think they called the FDIC the government. Like the FDIC is the government, which is kind of funny because the insurance fund is funded by banks, not the government, but we'll set that aside. This is the government, and the government should not be prioritized in this repayment for this $8 million above ordinary people, aka equity holders in the bank.
Right.
And my question, Kiah, is this, and this I think is the most interesting hypothetical. Instead of it being 36 sort of mom and pop-esque, local business people or sort of wealthy individuals in this small town in Kansas, pillars of the community who were invested in this bank, who were victimized, if it was a private equity fund based out of New York, and that was a majority owner of this holding company, would the judge have viewed that private equity firm as the victim that needs to be reimbursed? How much of this is sympathy for these specific equity holders versus a principle that has broader applicability?
I mean, I think it's 100% one, sympathy for the shareholders, and two, I didn't realize that you were allowed to be bad at your job in this specific way.
Sure.
Sometimes when I'm refereeing a soccer game and a coach will say something to me about either the laws of competition or the laws of the game or the rules of competition, laws and rules.
Mm-hmm.
I have said to coaches before, Coach, it is also you can also know the rules of soccer. They're not secret, and
everyone knows them.
I would actually expect that you know the laws. And so to a certain extent, your ignorance is not my problem and your misunderstanding is not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it seems like the only way there would be correction here of the error of law itself is on appeal.
Yeah.
But I think, and it sounds like the FDIC is not going to appeal. It's just $8 million. And
I think they don't really want this to become more of a thing, if that makes sense. My understanding in a general legal sense is the higher up you appeal this, the more of a sort of juicy precedent for the future it becomes. And so I guess it's just not worth the risk to the FDIC to sort of push this particular
I think
point.
I don't think this case would create bad precedent because the Department of Justice signed a 2007 memorandum of understanding that says under banking law, the FDIC is entitled to receive all restitution due to the institution resulting from the conviction of crimes committed against a bank for which the FDIC is the legal receiver. I think there and the FDIC, this is it's just this money was found and it's an asset of bankruptcy, right? It's not anyone's money per se. And so that's why they had to do this trial to figure out who gets it and in the bankruptcy estate. But it's just, I think I'm kind of just stunned that we all just saw in the year of our Lord 2025, just, this law be disregarded. I hopefully don't think it'll ever be repeated. A mistake, like a decision like this would be repeated. But I'm just kind of stunned that there's, on this particular bank failure, we have this kind of crazy decision. And, I also want to be really clear. Like, I also too feel bad that the equity holders got zeroed out. Like, I do. That's just part of it, though. Like, that's just when you invested in this stock, it could go to zero for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, the CEO works for them, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were the boss of the CEO, and the CEO screwed up on their watch. And again, like, the circumstances are tricky. Pig butchering and these kind of scams are sad and difficult to catch and blah, blah, blah. Like, I get all of that. But like, fundamentally, like, the CEO, the CFO who sort of helped facilitate this, like, they worked for those shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's it's kind of a little cold maybe, but like, I think it's a very rational argument to say they did a bad job supervising their employees, and their employees lost the company and they have to go to zero as a result of that. Like, I don't think that's in any way unreasonable. I also think, Kiah, your longstanding bankers don't go to jail. Like, I know this again was more of a sort of crime and not a bank failure, but still, like, it's bank failure adjacent.
Specific. I feel like sometimes I say things in the chat and then you guys repeat it. And it's like, I'm like, no, there was like a bunch of other things. So bankers don't go to jail unless the bank fails. Sure. But then the other thing too is like, who should go to jail? And in this case, like, maybe it's just one guy. We do have like potentially an accomplice.
Sure.
And the FDIC might go after the directors and officers for the insurance that they might have in order to, kind of make up some of this restitution. But in general, bankers do not go to jail unless if the bank doesn't fail. But
if the bank fails, and it fails in spectacular fashion, which this definitely did. I mean, the other thing
because of criminal negligence or conduct,
totally. And the other thing that's kind of wild about this, and I haven't dug into the details of the pig butchering scam, but like, how could you fall for this? And how could you do this? And also, 24 years is a lot. 24 years is a lot.
I know.
That is so much.
It's a lot. He got, I literally like, in the true crime group, we like sometimes talk about cults and mind control and high control groups. And like, I think an aside about these is like, we need to be really honest that these scams can be very convincing. They feel very realistic. I think it's dangerous to think only stupid people fall for scams.
Oh, I totally agree. But also, but the flip side,
he stole a lot of money.
Well, it's so much is the part that I kind of get hung up on. Like, if you have to borrow money from the FHLB to facilitate the other side,
$40 million in 30 days. It was kind of amazing, Alex.
That's amazing. Like, I'm trying to think of an emotional, because the point about pig butchering is you build trust with the scam victim, and that trust then causes them to do things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. I am trying to think of a scenario, because it's not like I couldn't fall for a scam. Everyone can fall for a scam. But I'm trying to think of a scenario in which I would fall for a scam, become so emotionally compromised by that scam that I'd be like, yeah, $40 million. That makes sense. Like, I don't, and again, I don't know the psychology of these things like behind the scenes, but the amount is wild. And it does feel like the amount and also like all the places he went to get it sort of factored into the 24 years. Can I also flag one thing for you, Kiah, that I just find weird? And I'd just like to say this out loud. $8 million was just sitting in USDT.
Sure was.
So the way that my understanding is, the way that this works is all the stuff is tracked on the blockchain, right? That's the wonderful thing about financial crime facilitated by cryptos. It's all just right up there on an immutable ledger. You can try to scramble the transactions and do all this stuff, but like there are blockchain forensic accounting firms that can like trace all of this and find the money, right? So you pay those firms, they trace the money, they find like irrefutable proof that like this is where this money went. My question is, for scammers, don't you want to take every last dollar out of these centralized exchanges where the money can be seized? Like, What the hell were they doing leaving
Yeah.
$8 million somewhere where law enforcement could get it? I don't get that.
I don't know if it got frozen or if they just forgot.
Right. I mean, it was $40+ million. So maybe they're like, 8 million. Like, we'll just leave that over there. I don't get, we'll leave that in this exchange so that we can keep an account open. I don't understand it at all, but it's strange to me how often, illegally stolen money transferred in crypto is actually recovered. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
but
and it was nice that it happened here. I wonder if like the scammer was just so busy scamming other people that they kind of forgot about this one.
Right.
And it got discovered somewhere. Also,
like I was meaning to get back to that 8 million to move it out. I forgot.
Just
like,
get it later.
Forget things all the time. Yeah.
I forget my $8 million just in accounts that when you have like too many accounts and stuff.
It's a very understandable thing. Yeah.
I really quickly wanted to, this case made me look up the other case that the FDIC is embroiled in on a failed bank, which is the SVB Holdco case.
Yeah.
And this case is a little different, but it is also kind of a failed bank and who has the rights to certain money.
Sure.
So SVB Holdco is not arguing that they should not have been zeroed out because that's established law.
Yeah.
But SVB Holdco had about $2 billion of deposits in SVB bank unit. And the FDIC, what happened is like the FDIC, the Holdco had access to these funds, even when the bank unit went into a bridge bank. So back when like the unlimited deposit insurance goes into effect. But then the FDIC cuts off access to this particular account on November 16th. I don't think that's right, but whatever. They cut off access.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be March 16th. And so SVB Holdco is like, hey, give us our money back. That was money that was subjected to the unlimited deposit insurance. And that's just an account, right? Like if you want to seize that money from us, you have to sue us for it, right? You don't just get to take money that's in the bank. These were deposits that should have been maybe included in the sale to first citizens. And so the question is, and the FDIC was like, no, you are going to take losses on it because it's beyond the $250,000. And so the questions of the case are these deposits covered by unlimited insurance? Can the FDIC seize these deposits without the lawsuit? And so this case is going to get decided or heard in July 2026. Another iconic bank failure from 2023.
Yeah, I mean, 2023 is the gift that keeps on giving. That's fascinating. I guess we'll have to see what happens with the case. I will say, just as a parting thought, I kind of feel bad for the FDIC. And what I mean by that is just that, like...
What now?
Well, like, yeah, exactly. And, like, they... Like, whenever anything bad happens, they get called. They kind of have, like, the worst of both worlds in the sense that, like, they're a government agency. They are required to be governed by rules. Like, all of these things sort of, like, hold them back or restrict them. But then on the flip side, they also can just, like, you know, they're expected to be taking losses and sort of treated that way on the sort of private market side. Like, we're not funded by taxpayers. So it's very strange.
Well, you know, I think the FDIC, they're very hardworking. And yes, it kind of does suck to come in and clean everyone's mess and then everyone blames you for it.
Get yelled at. Yeah.
You know, honestly, Alex, I feel like I haven't been talking about credit card as much as I could. And I think everyone should thank me for my restraint. But I did want to bring to you an interesting trend that I'm seeing, which is airline debit cards.
Really?
Yes. So our friends at Sunrise Banks have partnered with the Galileo, which is SoFi's tech platform, tech stack.
Yep.
And to issue 2 debit cards from airlines, which is Southwest and United. I don't think the United one is live yet. And I'm kind of fascinated by this because are debit reward cards coming back? What are your thoughts?
So I didn't even know about this. I mean, you pay way more close attention
Oh yeah,
to.
I found out this through the travel
I was gonna
points
say,
groups,
yeah,
not
you're
through
like
the bank
no,
news.
no, no. This didn't quite pop up on the fintech bank radar, but it definitely popped up in travel reward world. It's strange. I mean, obviously with Sunrise, they're Durbin exempt, right? So like this is a more lucrative debit card. But the reality is, there's lots of Durbin exempt debit cards out there, especially in the fintech world. Most of them still don't come with rewards, right?
Right?
Like, I mean, as comparatively better the Durbin exempt interchanges to Durbin interchange, it's still not anywhere close to credit cards. I mean, Kiah, like Southwest and United have credit cards.
Yes, I have both cards for both of them.
Right. You're a customer of both of those. So maybe I'll turn this question around to you. Like, who is this for? Because like it's not like Southwest and United weren't already playing a more lucrative version of this game. Why are they doing this?
So I don't know.
Simple answer. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
The cards are issued by Sunrise, not by credit card partner Chase Bank. Number one.
Yes.
I'm not sure what they're seeing in the market as far as financial products that they can offer different customer segments. I wonder if they, if we think about these companies as brands, if they're trying to build customer loyalty and market and wallet share, while also understanding that, many people don't feel like credit cards are a great fit for them. Mm-hmm. And so like, what's the middle area, and what would it cost Sunrise? What would it cost Southwest to partner together on a credit card or a debit card?
Yeah.
And what kind of behaviors do you want to incentivize? And I think it's interesting, like the card earns like 1 point per dollar on airlines, or like dining, and then certain types of streaming and subscription services, and then 1 point for every $2 spent elsewhere. So like the earn rate's not good.
No.
Definitely not as good as the credit card.
Yeah.
You get bonus points every anniversary based on how many deposits you have in your checking account. And the highest amount is if you have $15,000 in your Southwest checking account, you'll get a bonus of 7,500 points, which just seems like kind of a crazy amount to like, again, like, why don't you just have a credit card at that point? But
I get that.
It's just interesting because I wonder if they perceive like kind of a product gap for a certain customer segment, that it doesn't cost them very much to issue this. Obviously, the card doesn't seem to have like a lot of like annual fees or whatever.
Sure.
If you maintain this certain balance or whatever. And so it's just like, is it just like a way to get like teenagers into the loyalty programs, and then build airline loyalty or what? But I thought it was kind of interesting because we used to see debit reward, and a lot of that went away with Durbin. And I feel like we haven't actually seen it as much, given that some banks are Durbin exempt.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't really exist, right? I mean, like, you just don't see debit cards even come close from a rewards perspective to credit cards. It just doesn't exist even with the Durbin exempt ones. And so this is a fascinating trend. I mean, the thing it kind of rhymes with to me is the debit cards that are getting infused with buy now, pay later capabilities. So it reminds me a little bit more of like the Affirm card or what Klarna is doing. But even in those places, right, and the pitch from like an Affirm or a Klarna attaching buy now, pay later capabilities to debit cards is, hey, if you want the sort of convenience of a card, the convenience of being able to finance specific transactions, but you don't want to fall into the trap of like revolving debt on a credit card, this is the product for you.
Yeah.
But again, those products are more built around like functionality, like debit card with buy now, pay later functionality, and also, like integrations with like merchants and stuff. They don't really compete with rewards, right?
No.
Like I think that like that's the thing I keep sort of struggling with is like that you can't go head to head with these reward cards because the economics just don't support it. Even with the airlines being active participants in launching these products, like they're not going to make up the difference from a rewards perspective on these. And so, yeah, I just kind of keep coming back to like, who are these debit cards for? Are they for teenagers and people who like don't have credit cards yet? Are they for sort of credit averse consumers who do want some level of rewards? Are they for people who have bad enough credit that they can't qualify for the credit cards? I mean, I suppose that's possible. But again, like, I think where airlines have been really successful is tapping into this like hyper loyalty, hyper reward transactor type, right? I mean, they're looking for more use, Kiah. And I don't really sense that someone who has $8 million just sitting around and she forgets to transfer it out of her crypto exchange, like they're looking for you. I don't really know how much someone who needs a debit card rather than a credit card, like how much are they traveling? You know what I mean? Like how much are they like, oh, I was thinking about maybe remodeling my kitchen, but instead I think I'm going to take a really expensive trip to Bali and I'm going to fly first class on United. Like that person's probably not the person who either can't get a credit card or who is totally averse to using a credit card. So I don't really understand that part of it. And then the other part that I just want to toss out here that I think is really interesting actually is in the world of embedded finance, right? So like a different brand offering a financial services product, embedded lending kills, right? And a credit card is mostly embedded lending and a little bit of embedded payments. Embedded payments works really well. Embedded banking does not work very well. There's not a lot of examples of embedded banking working well because specifically people like to have their bank account with an institution that they think of as their bank, right?
Yeah.
It would be weird to me, maybe I'm just old, but it would be weird to me to send my direct deposit or even a portion of my direct deposit to Southwest. Like that would just be weird. I don't think of Southwest as a bank. I don't think think about Southwest's like digital banking app. Do they have personal financial management capabilities? Do they have 2-day early access to your paycheck? Do they have sort of fee-free overdraft capabilities? Like, do they have do they have checks? Do they have all the robust capabilities that I want for my bank account that I'm sending my direct deposit to? Probably not, right? They're probably not nearly as competitive as a Chime or a Chase or a US Bank or a Capital One. Like, I don't think that embedded bank accounts make sense, and therefore embedded debit cards also don't really make sense. And also, just to tie a bow on all of this, debit cards are a lot harder to like do chargebacks and manage fraud and stuff through. And a lot of that happens in travel. And so I just, on a number of levels, I'm like, why?
It's interesting because I think that to your point, there could be kind of a brand where this feels like makes a little bit more sense.
Sure.
I don't think again, I love Sunrise.
Sure.
I use SoFi as my debit account or my checking account. I don't think this is a good travel card because it doesn't have travel insurance on it. It doesn't have no foreign exchange fees, right? Like,
it's not even set up well for that.
Right. So, and someone messaged me 2 weeks ago because I sometimes get these questions like, hey, my my daughter's friend is traveling internationally in January. What's a good card for her? And one of the things I mentioned was like, it's if she can't get on her parents' credit card, right, as an authorized user, like one thing to think about is like, would she be interested in opening a checking account at Capital One? Now, that doesn't mean nothing bad's ever going to happen to you when you're traveling abroad, but like you could use that debit card abroad and not pay any fees. And then you could buy like travel insurance separately or whatever. And that was like a thing I said to a very specific person at a very specific age and a very specific place in their credit journey. And this card is still not one that I think would be great. Now, I've got some friends that maybe they're trying to climb out of some debt and they they're using their debit card a lot and they just want a product that feels like it's rewarding them a little bit. And this is a little bit, but it is weird because I don't know. It's just interesting. Again, the brand, the embedded banking, what matters to customers with bank accounts these days. Can
I ask you a question? And this ties to kind of the infrastructure level. What if your SoFi checking account had an attached Southwest debit card, since SoFi owns Galileo and Galileo is the issuer processor for this debit card. That's the other thing I find kind of strange, sort of hiding under the surface of this, is I'm with you. I really like Sunrise. I think they do a great job, but Sunrise doesn't own Galileo. SoFi owns Galileo, right? And so like there's a whole sort of right. Why didn't SoFi do this? Like I have that question too. And so yeah, I think it's a really hard fit, and it does also kind of remind me a little bit of bad experiments I see on the fintech side, where there'll be like a fintech company that are like, we're going to launch a debit card to go after like Chase Sapphire preferred customers, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's Durbin exempt, but we think that there's a segment of those customers that don't really like credit, and so we're going to go get them and we'll do this instead. And it's like, guys, like that is not going to work. You are fundamentally misunderstanding your market and the opportunity that exists and how different competitors fit into it. And I feel like in this space, when I look at the travel co-brand credit card market, I don't look at it and go, this is just screaming for a co-branded debit card. Like just in no sense. That's why it caught me by surprise when you mentioned it, is in no sense was I looking at this going, oh yeah, I didn't know this was happening, but if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Like it doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's fascinating. And I will say it's impressive to me that Sunrise and Galileo have gotten both Southwest and United on board with this. Like, I mean, clearly like whatever's in that pitch deck is working, because these large brands that are pretty savvy about this are signing up and trying it. Just pick it off the Chase accounts. Also, shout out to the points and travel credit card nerds, because they're the normies. I wouldn't say they're super normal, but they're the non-finance people totally who care the most about interchange in the world. And so if you say Durbin exempt to those people, they'll know what you mean. Really? Yeah, well, and they're against like whatever that credit card act that would cut the interchange. Durbin 2.0, yeah. And I just, I spend a lot of my time trying to get my normie friends to like care about like unrealized losses or FBO reconciliation and labeling. That's never gonna happen. And here's this group of people. Yes. Yeah, I just think overall, this is one of those ones that just doesn't quite feel like it's hitting the mark, although I am happy that it gives you something to talk about with both your fintech friends like me, and also, I assume, the many group chats that you're in for travel rewards optimization. It's my two worlds combined. Well, really I will see you next week. I am looking forward to it. We will play Acquired in person in the beautiful summer-like weather that we have here in Montana. Frigid. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Bank Nerd Corner. Stay up to date with news and trends in the bank space by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you love FinTech Takes Banking, please tell a friend. Talk to you next time.